So thanks a lot, everybody, for joining. So we'll start this by 15 minutes. I'm going to present just a few slides to set up the stage. Then we're going to have our panelists coming in board. We'll ask questions, and we will hear from their expertise and their knowledge after we finish the presentation. And please, I think for us, we would be more delighted to hear your questions as well, because for us, will make it more interactive and make it more beneficial for you. All right, I'll start actually by something that everybody knows, correct? So the main session, I'll transition with this very quickly into the AI. But actually, the main reason I bought this is for an excitement of me. At the beginning of the year, I read in a book that is called Individual Sovereignty. And in that book, there is a very interesting element that is talk about life as cycles. And in general, like we know there is the day and night cycle because we see it every day. Everybody believe it. We know there is the 4-season cycle because we live it every time. But there is a very interesting 2 cycle that we generally don't see. The first cycle is a 100-year cycle, and it is the rise and fall of civilization. And the other cycle, which was talking about it in the Individual Sovereignty book, it's actually about a 500-year cycle. And in the book, he took 2 elements that is extremely crucial for the government, because what we think is that the next 500-year cycle, from the name of the book, it's about individual sovereignty. And it's in reality how the governments will change to a completely new form. And we'll start seeing the beginning of that maybe at what we're seeing now. So this will be a very, very long cycle, which is the government transformed completely to become a service organization. And even the thinking about citizenship and these kind of things will start being downplayed. Of course, this will be a very long. But if you look at the 500-year cycle before, it started with democratization of knowledge. Because at one point in the West, it was in certain areas like focused, then printing press happened and so on and so forth. And we see what is happening with the internet and boom of knowledge and how this has been democratized fully. The other elements that is being talked about with the cycle is that the shift will happen between the East and the West, West and East, and then East and West. So it's like the days and night. And if you look at the 500-year before, it was on the West side. And if you look at before that, was the Dark Ages on the West side, and the East was booming. And interestingly, now we hit that cycle. We hit that 500-year cycle starting from now. So it's made me very excited about the region, and we're seeing the leaders talk about this, like Middle East is the new Europe and so on and so forth. So that's brought up a lot of excitement, me individually being as part of this region. And that is talking about the first element. And the second element of the trends that we see today, which is government transforming into a service organization. And the second thing is the competition for talent that we see across all governments, especially on the Gulf area. There is a huge focus into this, from UAE to Saudi to Qatar to Oman, and actually the rest of the region. We see this competition for talents to bring them in and build it from all domains. And the second element is digitization and operational excellence mandate. And this is, by the way, it goes as well into individual sovereignty, which is, I'll tell you something very interesting. When you start reading the book, many times when I was reading the book, I was going back to the cover. The book was written in 1997. And I'm seeing this guy, the book was edited, because actually the book predicted exactly the Bitcoin, how it's like as if he's sitting with us. He called it actually cyber money. And he predicted the AI as the next wave. So these 2 technology is going to be the catalyst for moving us to the individual sovereignty. So it goes like, the more you go into these 2 discussions, it goes immediately very philosophical, not only technological, because for them, one of them is going to transform the way we look at money and economy, how it's backing. And the other one is going to look at jobs and capabilities and even entrepreneurs as startups and so on and so forth. If you hear Altman, OpenAI CEO, he said the next billion-dollar company is going to be 3 people, because AI is going to perform a lot of these tasks. But within government, we see the digitization, operational excellence mandate, and is taken to the next level. I think we're going to expand on this topic as we talk with our panelists, and we talk specifically about what is happening in Middle East. Of course, there's a pressure about how we're going to diversify in general revenues. And we see this goes in different region, goes in different way. Like in Saudi, we speak with a lot of government customers who get in the mandate by 2030 to be profitable, and the privatization of this. And it's the first interesting conversation I start having with government about sales, how we can take our solutions and we sell it to other customers and competing with the privates and private sectors in certain areas, of course. So to take it from here, I want to jump into our main topic, and I want to talk about the most important trends, link it back into here of what we see. And now I'm going to talk a little bit tactical. What do we see on the AI challenges on the government? And there is the three major things that we see. It's not only on government, but also in the enterprises as well. But in government, maybe there is certain elements more intensified. The first one, we see a siloed AI strategy and implementation. And this is across the board. And for those who come in from customer engagement, customer experience, citizen experience standpoint, if you go back 20 years from now, when I start my career, or 14 years from now, when multi-channel is becoming a thing, the web and mobile and so on and so forth came around, you will see a lot of people was actually investing in these and responding to these in more siloed approach. This has led to a problem is called multi-channel. And then as an industry, we try to solve it by adopting a strategy called omni-channel. So, but actually it started with a siloed approach of responding to things. And we are seeing the same thing. Like I'm looking at it, I'm saying, I see this movie before. AI actually is being implemented completely in silos today. And this is, to me, is going to be a bigger problem. And we see it from a very tactical way into a very strategic, holistic way. Even when it's come to the one area like citizen engagement, we see it is being adopted in a very siloed way. We see chatbot implemented separate, WhatsApp bot separate, voice bot separate, conversation analytics separate. Even in one area of the domain, we see fragmentation of this. And I'm telling you, this will be a bigger problem than the one we happened before, because on the multi-channel, it was a static application. Now we are building an AI, I would call it like a living entity in a way that is learning once you put it and you build it in silos. The more you start realizing that problem, and then it's coming, like we say, we want to implement this, reflect on the same name, we call it an omni AI strategy. The moment you have that, you will face a much bigger problem than the one that has happened before, because now you put up a learning entity that lane and so on and so forth. Then you will start thinking about like, I want to stop this one and I want to have a different strategy with it. So this is going to be a bigger problem. And I hope as an industry and as organization, they will be quicker actually to adopt into a more holistic strategy when it's come to the AI. The second element is because of the boom that has happened, which is there is a huge confusion about the AI practical use cases, privacy, data guardrail, how we balance between the data guardrail and gen capability. Though sounds like very generic, but we really have very specific conversation with some of the governments that they look at certain confusion, like they speak with the AI, they have certain expectation from the AI, but in reality, if the generative expectation that you want it to have, that's mean that you need to have a direct access to the internet. But at the same time, you want to guardrail your data. And, so you will see a lot of these confusion. And I think one of the critical area is understanding how you're going to migrate, how you're going to move within that. And this is what I call it. I'm going to expand on this concept that the AI journey is a marathon, not a sprint. But one of the main thing that has happened, major thing that has happened, is when ChatGPT came, it's actually changed the game for us. So there is a nice model. I like to think about it when I think about technologies and these kind of thing. And there is a nice saying by a philosopher said, when it's come to technology, what people cares about is their presentation. But if you think about ChatGPT as a presentation, if you think about which domain it was playing into, it's playing into generative AI. And below that, there is a technology called LLM for large language models and transformers. Now, if you apply this even in the cryptocurrency, it's the same thing. It's a nice model to think about. Like you think about Bitcoin and Ethereum, you think about it, it's in a cryptocurrency domain. Below that, there is a blockchain. So maybe for people who like technology, they will understand the underlying level, but what most of people care about is the presentation, and you can go a little bit into that. Now, reflecting back into the AI, if you go a year back before generative came about, when you think about AI, I would think that almost all organization was thinking automation and augmentation. That was the main use case. Then generative came about, and now we see organizations will respond very fast if they have very high expectation, but it's actually when it's come to that enterprise level, just the main realization for this that is require a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But we see that's confusion that is happening big time. I'm gonna see how we can actually help on solving that in a minute. The second element that I see a lot happening on the enterprise and on government, a lot of conversation that we have, maybe you agree or disagree with that, but eventually we see a lot of people say, automation is actually the opposite of citizen experience. So we tend to think like automation and citizen experience is it doesn't go together. And a lot of people say, like, give you an example, like, I don't like to speak to a bot. I wanted to speak to a human. And I totally disagree with this, not because we're an AI company, but I genuinely disagree with this. And I think if you go into the research deeply, you will find that actually people love self-serve. In any domain, in any kind of thing, people like to be self-served very well, self-served. But the thing is, they need it to be done right. That's the thing. And the moment they have a modality of communicating, for example, reaching out to the organization, they want to speak to somebody because they know that this, whatever it is that we put on the front as what we think is an AI, is actually not serving the customer. But if automation is done right, I think that is the ultimate customer experience, is to provide citizen with the ability to automate fully. So I know this is a small nuances, but I believe that the perception that automation and citizen experience that goes sometimes into that they are the end of the spectrum. And we see, for example, certain domain, they come in and say, okay, we're going to segment customer. We're going to apply this for retail, for example, and enterprises AI, but the others, we want to keep it more speaking to a live agent. And we see this is like, goes into the same thinking. All right. So I'll zoom in directly to see how we actually as Uniphore solving to that. I'll go directly into this. And I want to explain it outside the solution. I want to explain actually the methodology, because I believe this is the right way to approach the topic. Uniphore, in a very quick way, it's an AI native company. We have almost 800 employees. We are in base of Palo Alto, but are in more than 20 countries. And we operate in a lot of industry. We have almost 1,500 customers. So what we did, we actually adopted what I call it the platform approach. And the platform approach is actually I believe with what we are doing and the fast of change is the way to go. So let me explain. The first thing that we did, we look at data on elements, and we have our multimodal capturing, meaning we can capture all type of data. We can capture conversation, we can capture knowledge from organization, document, videos, interaction, like this video can be recorded, can be put out there, any citizen, any data from located the place. So First, we have this, what we call it as Uniphore, our solution X-Stream, which is it can actually capture all type of data within the organization, because that is how AI it operates. Then what we did, we actually put up this, and we've been using LLM. For those who's geeky on this topic, they know that actually transformers and LLM was started almost 2018-19, and it started by a company who was bought by Google at that time. So it's actually started by a complete different company. So then what we did is since 2019, we actually been using that. So we apply this into LLM, but now we advanced it so much that I will speak about it in a minute. But you take all this data, then you apply it into an LLM model that we customize it for the enterprise. So it's become your LLM. I'll expand in this concept in a minute. So capture all data, stream it, apply it into a generative model. Then we have all these capability that we build up over the years, the AI capability, knowledge AI, generative AI, emotional AI, speech recognition, workflow automation, computer vision, which is we look at video and we start analyzing what people actually, how they're feeling, are they engaged, not engaged at real time and historical. And we provide it with an easy tool, a low code, no code for you to build that workflow and analytical models. So for us, we think about these as a Lego approach. It's Legos. We put it within the platform. And then we start thinking, okay, how we can build the right product that associated with the right use case for the customer. So you see, we cover the technology layer, we infuse it with LLM model that is customized by enterprise. We build Lego's approach. We provide the organization with a designer, but we start seeing common thread with this, and we start building certain products to address these requirements. But for you, it's actually, you can build up a lot of use cases around this, and I'm going to expand into this into a minute. And eventually it goes in back to what we want to achieve eventually. And we look at here, once we have this pre-trained AI, we have it as citizen service, knowledge worker, compliance automation, compliance management, collections, so many other use cases. And to that end, I will expand to it into here a little bit. And I'm going to focus on this LLM model for a minute, and I'll circulate back on certain examples. So for us, the LLM is actually being customized per your needs and per your interest. It's become actually, we come in and we build an LLM for you as an enterprise. It become your LLM model in general, for your data, for your models, and so on and so forth. So it's become your own. So let's say we're going to call it RIDE. So we take that and we start looking at the use cases, and we start building it across the enterprise or across the government. And for that, we see many areas that coming around. So we see the citizen service, which is still by far the most area with mature AI use cases, and where the rapid ROI is going to be achieved. And now we're going to expand on it in a minute for it. But we start seeing other use cases. We see a recruiter copilot, where for you, I think now everybody sees ChatGPT and use it and the like of that product. Like you have a ChatGPT for the enterprise, basically. So you have a recruiter that you build LLM model, take all the data, all the things, you start actually infuse it with ability at real time. That is a video that you speak with a recruiter, you are recruiting somebody and you're speaking with them, and you start analyzing the people basically, and it provide you more feedback and more data about this, and guide the recruiter of the right next question or the right set of things. And you can have this at a historical level as well. We again, ChatGPT for employees, you can provide it as a help desk so that you help employees through the organization basically. So assuming you, for any reason, for you have certain services, and people, they want to be able to access it within the enterprise very quickly. So they will be able to go to that copilot and enter this information and get it. So for example, as I said, on the computer vision or conversation, you'll start seeing this data not only from your documents, but actually what the citizens say. What is actually what is happening during certain conversation that is happening inside the organization. You can analyze that and have it, and you can have it as part of this. So you get it beyond just a historical data into build it as you go as well data and real-time data. So you triangulate this at multi elements. All right, I'll expand into this, but the main thinking I want to see, and I reflected back into this, and this is my biggest giveaway, I would say, on this, is it truly this journey of building this model is actually a marathon, not a sprint. Because now I think in our region, there's a lot of visionaries and a lot of vision set by our leaders. But the thing is, if you think about that, then we see people want to fast respond into this. And this is what's actually will lead to bigger problem. And we start seeing that in the organization today. And I think realizing that this is a marathon, that's not a sprint, and start building the base for it and growing it from there is actually extremely important. So to that end, what our team does, we have a set of team who are expert in industry. They come in and look at the outcome first. It starts with the outcome. So what outcome we want to achieve within this? What is the thing that we want to maximize at higher level in the I think in government, operational excellence would be number one. We break it down into a measurable KPIs for us that we're going to infuse it in the model. Then we actually start coming to the main use case, and the team will start expanding into this. I know this is the slide. I'm not going to present it, but I'm just giving you an example. Like we look at certain areas that is extremely important, and we start seeing how of course we get our experience as well from dealing with other customers in other places, how we actually can infuse the generative AI use cases to maximize the outcome that you want it to do. And to that end, I want to expand to one actual element of this, which is the customer experience, customer engagement. And for this, even the fragmentation we see is extremely high. And the reason I want to expand into this on this session is that, as I said, this is the highest ROI AI, and there are so many other benefits that is important. We see organization, once they implemented this correctly, The ROI for this will be more than they can get it in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, because the ROI for it is a hard dollar ROI. And it's very simple. The moment to come into the first part of the journey, when a citizen engaged with the government entity, when you have a unified AI, singular AI, regardless of the channel they contact you using, social, voice, chat, WhatsApp, whatever it is, messaging, you get it to email, you get it through a singular AI. So that singular AI become associated with your brand, and eventually will be able to respond to the customer. So the more the citizen, the more you respond to that citizen, what we do, and the people who's expert in that domain, you will increase what we call it containment rate on the digital channels. And the digital channels is 80% cheaper than communicating with a live human being. So here's the ROI. You get 10%, you see the cost difference, you multiply it, you get the ROI. It's very, very, very obvious within that. One of the elements I want to say as well, the next AI, which is we're providing as well as our Omni AI, is actually an AI not only orchestrating data and information, it will be able to orchestrate capability. What do I mean by that? Orchestrating capability is as the citizen engage with you, and then he said, you need them to share certain data, a screen capture if they're on Emirates ID, for example. So instead of the AI just ask them to enter that, they can actually push them something from your application, or it can be a different modality of communication. We call it multimodal. And while the AI is speaking with the citizen, we enable them actually to start sharing information visually. We enable them to authenticate visual and these kind of things. So we start using the capability was implemented in the mobile app or the digital channels. We can bring it at the moment of conversation. All right, quickly, for any reason, the citizen want to communicate with the agent, we transfer it to the agent. That's where the next element comes in, which is we have an AI co-piloting the agent. It's actually the same AI model because it's built based on a platform. So the same AI will be listening to that conversation, and when it have a high degree of confidence on the answer, it will actually start recommending the next best action for the agent. We'll start bringing next knowledge AI to that conversation. We'll have an RPA, robotic process automation, to automate certain tasks instead of putting the customers on hold, and so on and so forth. After conversation finish, the AI will summarize the whole conversation, categorize it, and save it wherever you want to save it. And at the end, we will ingest all that conversation and provide analytics inside to the whole organization, regardless where they sit, about their products, about their service, about the performance of people, and so on and so forth. Of course, as I said, all of that, it will happen at a singular AI model. And that can be extremely important when you wanted to migrate with your plan or set up a plan. Because if you don't, for example, say, I don't want to start by putting the AI conversing with the customer, with the citizen. You can start by the analytics side. And the AI will ingest all this data, will train, will be very smart, very agile. And then you see it, you see, wow, I see it now. It's transcribing all the Arabic, it's figuring out all the intent. I trust this AI. Now I want to take it and put it on to start speaking with the customer. It's like you are training it before you are putting it outside. So that's why the platform approach is actually the approach to start having a marathon thinking and start building think at a longer term. All right, so I want to close on this slide very quickly. So I think the main thing, the benefits of the platform approach is this platform, when it's infused with LLM model, we actually provide it and is being customized for your needs and where your requirements become your LLM model eventually. Of course, we'll be able to streamline all the enterprise data because we have that capability that we can capture all this data and stream it in within our platform. And this is enable you to have a singular AI, eventually a single AI, instead of having siloed approach. The rapid co-pilot and the rapid ROI coming from the customer engagement, it is actually what makes the investment. Then eventually, the moment you get it, you invest, you will have the investment, the ROI return, with hard dollar value that is proven, and then you start innovating and expanding it from there. If we have any question, please go ahead.
It's about the recruiter co-pilot. What kind of analysis can that does?
Yes, it's actually a lot. So we have, see, the way it is, we take data, we take conversation, we take tonality, we take video vision, we take knowledge from the AI, from AI, and we provide the analytics that they need. And that can be at real time and it can be a historical. So I'm a recruiter communicating with a human, and we have the video, and his video is enabled like me now. And then I start seeing, is this person engaged? Is he, I don't want to go like by that. It's like you see, like you get in the information at real time about it. And then the AI, based on his tone, starts saying, like, he's getting frustrated, for example, or and you start recommending actually what is the next action for that. So we get you data at real time, like something, a co-pilot that help you at real time, any elements that you want. So the more you feed the data, the more you feed the AI, for them, will enable the AI to provide you with the best co-pilot in general. And that's applied to any use cases. The more you get that, the more you provide within this.